The next steps of my instructions say to slip stitch this pressed edge of my pocket, and so basically hand stitch that down. But I have another method that I like to use, which is called stitch in the ditch. First, I had already had this ironed under, so I've pinned it down to where my facing is nice and flat. You can see the edge where I just did the understitching, and the outer edge is sticking up just above that. So I'm going to flip this over, and I am going to be pinning in the ditch. So the ditch is this seam right here. This is where the facing needs to be stitched down on the other side. So I'm going to pin right on the ditch, or right next to my pocket panel here, and I'm going to pin this direction the whole way. And I'm going through all the layers on the back, and I can feel that I'm going all the way through because I can feel the table with my needle, with my pin. I flip this over, and I'm just going to double check that I can see all of my pins right here. If I'm missing one, say maybe it didn't quite catch the edge, then I could fix that. I could repin it. So now I can pull all these out. I could leave them in if I want to, but I really don't need them now that I have the front side pinned. On my machine, I've changed from my regular presser foot to my blind hem foot. Hopefully you have one of those. If you don't, this can still be done with a regular foot. It's just a little more difficult. I'm just going to be doing a straight stitch, but I'm going to line my seam up with this bar, and what that does is sort of keep this side of the seam from jumping under the needle. So I'm going to get that in there. I'm going to do a back stitch. Now the reason why I'm not hand stitching this part is because I have a very busy pattern of black and white, and the stitching from the outside is never going to be seen. If I was working with a finer fabric or a silk or something that I didn't want that stitch to show on the other side, then yes, I would hand stitch that facing down. Now with the pins facing this way, you can't go over them, so you have to remove them as you go. But if you notice, I don't have to take too much care on how I'm stitching. I'm just allowing this to guide along this facing piece. And let's see the result from the other side. So from the other side, you can see this facing piece is now stitched down. I'm not too worried about it not being super even here. This is the inside of my pocket, so what I'm really more concerned about is how it looks from the other side. And like I said, it's a very busy pattern, so you can't even see the black stitching. It looks like I might have jumped up onto the very edge of this corner right here. I'm not worried about that. There's things that up close, if it's a problem, or from afar if it's a problem, but up close, yeah, you're going to see the little flaws. But in this case, I wouldn't redo it for that little corner. And that's how you do stitch in the ditch.